Time travel.
Have you ever seen a photo that makes you question whether time, as we know it, is truly as linear as we think? Today, we're going to explore 12 fascinating images that challenge our understanding of time and invite us to imagine that time travel could be more real than we believe.
I'm from the past.
These photos are not just curious. They seem to capture moments and events that alter the traditional idea of time. Throughout this video, we invite you on a journey where the line between the past, present, and future blurs, and what once seemed impossible becomes possible. Get ready to discover these 12 photos that might prove time travel is not just a fantasy, but a phenomenon that could be closer than we imagine. Number 12. The footprint of time travel. In the vast field of historical anomalies and archaeological mysteries, few discoveries have captured the collective imagination as much as the finding of a fossilized shoe print. This curious remnant from a distant era was discovered in a geological region dating back over 200 million years, placing the footprint in a time when dinosaurs ruled the Earth. The discovery was so perplexing that researchers initially thought it was either a prank or a misinterpretation. However, after a detailed analysis, it became clear that this footprint was not the result of erosion or a natural geological formation, but rather had a structure that clearly mimics the shape of a shoe. The impression left in the rock revealed details that could not be ignored, such as seams and complex geometric patterns along the edges, suggesting that this was not simply a natural mold. Skeptics, however, argued that such geological formations could arise in a way that closely resembled a human footprint through extreme erosion and sedimentation. According to this theory, the forces of nature could have shaped the footprint over millions of years, creating a mark so detailed it could be mistaken for a shoe. However, for supporters of time travel theories, this discovery was a sign of something much more extraordinary. What if the footprint was the result of a time traveler who accidentally left their mark in the past, in an era when dinosaurs roamed the Earth? The possibility that future humans could travel through time and leave traces of their presence in historical periods seemed like the stuff of science fiction. But the discovery of this footprint with such specific and human-like details appeared to some as irrefutable evidence. The debate over this fossilized footprint was not limited to researchers and time travel theorists. Many wondered if advanced civilizations existed in the past before the known civilizations took form, and whether artifacts from such cultures could have filtered into the future only to be buried by the erosion of time. Could it be possible that, in a distant past, humans or advanced beings left footprints in prehistoric times without modern history ever knowing about it? The implications of such a discovery would not only affect our understanding of human history, but also change our perception of time and space itself. Fossil footprints like this shoe print remain a mystery, and while some researchers continue to seek more conventional scientific explanations, others still consider that the footprint could be proof of something far more fantastic: the intervention of beings from the future who left their mark in a time when time seemed still unchangeable. Number 11. Greta Thunberg's doppelganger. Greta Thunberg, the Swedish environmental activist, has been a globally influential figure. Her fight for climate change, which began in 2018 with a school strike outside the Swedish parliament, propelled her to the center of the world stage. But in 2019, a curious phenomenon began circulating on the internet, sparking both amazement and speculation. A blogger named Jack Strange published a photograph from 1898 showing 3 children of different ages. What was surprising about the image was the striking resemblance of one of the girls to Greta Thunberg. The young girl in the photograph not only had a similar facial expression, but also the same braids that had become a signature look for the activist. This similarity sparked a wave of comments. some of which suggested that Greta was not only fighting for the climate, but might also be a time traveler. While the theory of a doppelganger of Greta from the past might seem far-fetched, the truth is that the image became a starting point for amusing speculations. Although many agreed that the resemblance was extraordinary, the most plausible theory is that the physical likeness could simply be a coincidence, or perhaps an illusion created by the fact that the photograph captured a girl who shared certain physical features with Greta. Nonetheless, the story of Greta Thunberg's twin continues to be a recurring topic in time travel forums and historical mysteries. Number 10. The Mysterious Man from Taured. In July 1954, an unusual event took place at Tokyo's airport, Japan, which quickly turned into an unsolved mystery. During routine check-in for a flight, a passenger presented himself to immigration officers with a passport issued by a country that, at the time, did not exist. Instead of the documents one would expect from a citizen of a recognized nation, the passport indicated that the individual was from a country called Taured. Naturally, this raised the curiosity of the officials, who immediately became skeptical about the validity of the document. Security checks were heightened, and the man was detained for further questioning. What seemed like an attempt at fraud, as might have been imagined initially, soon turned into an even greater enigma. The man appeared calm and showed no signs of being nervous or attempting to manipulate the situation. In fact, his behavior was surprisingly collected. Not only did he claim to be a citizen of Taured, but he also pointed to a map and insisted that the country of Taured had existed for thousands of years. The officials, still incredulous, approached the map, hoping to find some reference. But what they discovered only added to the confusion. The place the man pointed to was none other than Andorra, the small country located between France and Spain, and his conviction was so firm that many thought he truly believed what he was saying. The story takes an even stranger turn when the officials decide to move him to a hotel room while they conducted a deeper investigation into his story. They secured the room with a key, thinking that a night of rest would help clarify the situation the following day. But by morning, when they returned to his room, the door was locked, and to their surprise, the man had completely disappeared, leaving no trace behind. There were no signs that he had been forced to escape or that anyone else was involved. The mystery of his disappearance, along with the strange coincidence regarding the country of Andorra, left everyone puzzled. The question of the man's identity remains a mystery. Some theories suggest that the individual could have been a time traveler who, like the journeys described in science fiction, attempted to cross temporal and geographical borders without fully understanding the implications of his actions. Was he really a time traveler, or simply a man with a story that has yet to be understood? The possibilities remain open, feeding the most extravagant theories about the nature of time, the existence of parallel realities, or even the manipulation of historical events. Number 9. The painting with a man, holding a modern device. Art throughout history has served as a window into the minds and cultures of past eras. However, some works of art have raised questions that go beyond the artist's original intent. One of the most intriguing pieces in this regard is a 1937 painting that depicts two men, one of whom is holding an object that looks strikingly like a modern smartphone. This painting, created by an Italian artist known for capturing everyday scenes of the time, has not only puzzled art historians, but also fueled speculation about time travel. The man in the painting appears absorbed by the device, with the posture and expression one might expect from someone in the 21st century looking at a smartphone. Beside him, the other man seems to be watching with a mix of curiosity and frustration, as if questioning the use of the device by his companion, something that could easily be imagined in today's world. However, in 1937, mobile phones had not even been invented, let alone smartphones. Art critics have attempted to find a more practical explanation. Some theories suggest that the painter might have been making a commentary on the technological advances that were on the horizon. Perhaps by depicting a man with a device that didn't yet exist, the painter was ahead of his time, using a form of prophetic art to capture the societal changes that were about to unfold. However, many are left with the feeling that there's something more to this painting, as if it hints at an alternate reality or a time jump. Another similar painting from 1860, titled La Esperada, The Expected, shows a young woman walking along a rural path holding what, at first glance, appears to be a smartphone. The object in her hands is similar in size and shape to modern-day phones, and the young woman seems to be intently staring at the screen of this device, something that is inexplicable in the historical context of the time. Some interpret the painting as depicting a figure in a state of introspection or prayer with a book in her hands, a common theme in religious art of that era. What is intriguing about these works is that they are not mere coincidences. Both paintings depict objects and behaviors that don't belong to their respective periods, making them mysteries. Theories surrounding these mysterious devices include the idea that the artists may have had visions of the future, or that these objects weren't actually phones, but rather representations of something deeper about technology and how it would change society. Could it be that some artists had a more advanced vision of the future than was thought at the time? Perhaps these paintings, instead of being literal representations of their era, were metaphors for the changing forces of technology, anticipations of devices that would dominate daily life centuries later. Number 8. The Swiss watch from the 1940s in a Ming Dynasty tomb. In a surprising archaeological discovery made in December 2008 in Shaanxi, China, a team of archaeologists unearthed an object so unusual that its presence in a Ming Dynasty tomb, dating back more than 400 years, defied all expectations. In a tomb that had remained completely intact for over 4 centuries, the archaeologists found, among the ancient remains, a gold watch with a design that did not belong to the Ming era. The watch, no larger than a ring, had the word Switzerland engraved on its back, indicating it came from a much later time than the tomb in question. Upon examination, the watch clearly showed features typical of the 1940s, causing archaeologists to deeply question its origin. How could an artifact from that era have ended up there? Was it possible that someone had deliberately placed the watch in the tomb, or was there a much more perplexing and complex explanation? The tomb, belonging to a noble of the Ming Dynasty, had remained sealed for centuries without any obvious disturbances. This meant that, in theory, the watch could not have been introduced in more recent times, ruling out the possibility that the tomb had been violated at some point. The discovery left experts in archaeology and researchers with more questions than answers. Some speculated that the watch might be a relic from a time traveler's visit, an artifact left behind by a future traveler. This theory found support among time travel enthusiasts who suggested that the watch could be tangible proof that humans in the future discovered how to travel back in time and left artifacts as a record of their passage. Others speculated that the tomb might have been part of a larger phenomenon of intertwined timelines, where technological advances from different eras blend together. However, despite various theories, the mystery of the watch remains without a definitive explanation. It is possible we will never fully understand how this object ended up in the past, but its presence has left an indelible mark on modern archaeology. Number 7. The fighter jet in ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs. Ancient Egypt is a fascinating civilization, famous for its pyramids, the Sphinx, and its complex beliefs about the afterlife. However, among all the enigmas they left behind, one has particularly baffled modern scholars: the hieroglyphs in the tomb of Seti I, a pharaoh from the 19th dynasty, which seem to depict modern objects and vehicles. In particular, some of these hieroglyphs appear to show what many interpret as a helicopter, a submarine, and even a fighter jet. These hieroglyphs, discovered in the Abydos temple, depict figures that, at first glance, do not seem to belong to the ancient world. A helicopter with its distinct rotors, a submarine with its elongated shape, and a combat jet appear to be etched in surprisingly precise detail on the temple walls. Time travel enthusiasts and ancient astronaut theorists argue that these hieroglyphs are not just simple figures, but rather a representation of advanced technology from a distant future. According to this theory, the Egyptians may have been visited by future travelers who shared knowledge of modern machines with them. However, experts in Egyptology offer a more earthly explanation. The most widely accepted theory is that these images might be the result of visual confusion or a process of symbol overlap, a common phenomenon in Egyptian art. Over the centuries, some earlier inscriptions might have been erased and replaced by others, and the shapes that now seem to represent modern technology could have been misinterpreted. Some suggest that Egyptian art might have played with symbolism in such a way that it inadvertently created a visual illusion of modern objects. Nevertheless, the presence of these out-of-place images remains a subject of debate and speculation. Is it possible that ancient civilizations had access to visions of the future, or is it simply a coincidence? The idea that ancient cultures might have received external or even future influences continues to challenge our understanding of time and history. This mystery is a perfect example of how certain historical enigmas can inspire fascinating theories about time travel and contact with advanced civilizations. Number 6. John Titor, the Time Traveler. In the late 1990s, a surprising story appeared on online forums, quickly capturing the attention of thousands of users. A man under the name of John Titor claimed to be a soldier from the year 2036, sent to our time on a critical mission. His tale seemed straight out of a science fiction novel, but his appearance on internet forums sparked debates about the possibility of time travel. According to Titor, the world in his time was on the brink of disaster due to a computer virus threatening to destroy global infrastructures. His mission, however, was not only to prevent this catastrophe, but also to acquire an IBM 5100 computer, a 1970s model containing software capable of saving humanity from the coming crisis. This seemingly insignificant device was key to solving the computer problem that, according to Titor, would trigger a global war in 2036. According to his story, the IBM 5100 contained codes that could only be deciphered with that machine, a device considered obsolete in his time but vital for the future. In the following months, John Titor continued interacting on the forums, providing technical details about his time machine and his knowledge of future scenarios. He was willing to answer questions on various topics, from technological advancements to global political issues, always maintaining consistency in his responses. He even shared photographs of the time machine he claimed to have used for time travel, adding to the mystery of his enigmatic figure. However, in 2001, Titor disappeared from the forums as suddenly as he had appeared. Some speculated that he had completed his mission and returned to the future, while others believed he simply stopped interacting for personal reasons. Despite his abrupt departure, the legacy of John Titor endures. Today, he remains a subject of fascination on the internet, with thousands of followers studying his theories and stories, searching for clues that could confirm or debunk his tale. Was John Titor a genuine time traveler or an elaborate internet hoax? What is certain is that, like the most popular urban legends, his story left an indelible mark on digital culture. Number 5. The Woman with a Mobile Phone in 1928. The concept of time travel has been explored in literature and cinema for over a century, but one of the most surprising and puzzling cases of this idea is found in a brief clip from 1928, taken from the silent film The Circus by Charlie Chaplin. In this fragment, a woman appears in front of the camera holding an object near her ear as if engrossed in a phone conversation. What makes this scene so fascinating is the fact that, in 1928, mobile phones didn't even exist, and it would take nearly 60 years before the first mobile phone was invented. The footage was rediscovered many years after its filming, and quickly went viral when internet users began noticing the woman's curious behavior. The most enthusiastic proponents of time travel theories quickly suggested that this woman could have been, in fact, a time traveler, and that the object she was holding wasn't a regular mobile phone, but an advanced communication device from her future timeline. Although this theory was intriguing, it lacked tangible evidence, but still sparked a fascinating debate about the nature of time and the possibility that timelines could cross. Other theories emerged to attempt to explain the enigma. Some suggested that the woman might have been using a period-appropriate device, such as a portable hearing aid, instead of a mobile phone, which could have caused the confusion. The woman's granddaughter intervened to offer this explanation, claiming her grandmother was simply using a hearing device. However, this statement was not enough to quell speculation, as the scene seems to capture an action that, at the time, was completely unusual. What truly makes this footage so fascinating is the idea that if it were truly a case of time travel, it would represent concrete evidence that the rules governing time and history are not as fixed as we would like to believe. A simple clip from an old film could become a window into a parallel reality where the past and future meet in incomprehensible ways. Although the most logical explanation is that the object the woman holds is simply a period artifact, the fact that many continue to see something more in the image reflects the power of the human mind to imagine alternate realities and hidden mysteries within time. Number 4. Vladimir Putin, an immortal from time? The enigma of Vladimir Putin has been the subject of speculation for many years. Among the theories circulating about the Russian leader, one of the most striking is the suggestion that Putin is not an ordinary man, but could be a time traveler or even an immortal being. This theory gained traction especially after the appearance of 3 photographs in which Putin appears wearing military uniforms, but in historical contexts that should not be possible. In the images taken over several decades, Putin appears with a striking similarity in his appearance, which has baffled many. The first photograph was supposedly taken in the 1920s, the second in 1941, during World War II, and the third in 2015. What really intrigues observers is not just the fact that Putin appears in these different time periods, but that he seems to have not aged at all. The person in all of the photos has the same youthful face, regardless of the decade represented. This phenomenon has led some theorists to suggest that Putin may have access to some kind of secret technology that allows him to stay young, or perhaps he is traveling through time. The theory that Putin is immortal has become one of the most discussed, with supporters claiming that he could be a recurring historical figure in Russian history, changing his identity and appearance to adapt to different times. However, there are those who propose more realistic explanations. Some claim that there could be several people with a striking resemblance to Putin, which would explain the strange coincidence of the photos. Others suggest that the images may have been digitally manipulated, a theory especially considered in the era of post-production technology. Despite these explanations, the persistent similarity between the images continues to fuel popular fascination and speculation about Putin, making him one of the most mysterious figures in the world today. Number 3. The engraving of an astronaut in an ancient Spanish cathedral. One of the most perplexing images in religious architecture can be found in the St. Joram Cathedral in the historic city of Salamanca, Spain. A decorative detail on one of its facades has baffled both tourists and historians alike. It depicts what appears to be an astronaut, complete with a spacesuit, helmet, and protective gear, at a time when space travel was far beyond human reach. The cathedral, built in the 18th century, should have no connection to the technological advances of the 20th century, let alone space exploration. The presence of this astronaut, sculpted with impressive detail, seems to defy logic. How could an artist from that era, with no knowledge of the future, have depicted an astronaut so accurately? Initially, many thought it was a joke or a modern addition made by a restorer. However, the details of the sculpture, such as the folds in the astronaut's suit, the soles of his boots, and the perfectly sculpted helmet, suggest a representation that could not have been achieved with the knowledge and tools available in the 18th century. Over the years, several theories have circulated about the true nature of this sculpture. Some argue that the astronaut could be a symbolic figure, an allegory representing the connection between heaven and earth, which is a common interpretation in religious art. But others have leaned toward the idea that this figure is not merely a metaphorical representation, but a symbol of contact with the future, a sign that humans somehow knew about space travel long before it became a reality. Meanwhile, the time travel theory has gained popularity among enthusiasts of the inexplicable. For them, the astronaut is evidence of a visitor from the future who, through some kind of temporal anomaly, left a mark in the past. The idea that future astronauts left a representation of themselves in the past suggests that time travel, far from being science fiction, could be an unknown and unexplored reality. Despite official explanations suggesting a modern addition to the cathedral's design, the presence of this figure in a building dating back to such a distant period remains an intriguing mystery. The figure of the astronaut in the St. Joram Cathedral continues to be an enigma, challenging both scientists and believers in time travel, and it continues to fuel the debate over whether the past and future might be more intertwined than we ever imagined. Number 2, the Pegasus Project and time travel. During the Cold War. The Cold War was one of the most tense periods in modern history, marked by a constant struggle for supremacy between world powers. Amid this climate of distrust and espionage, an even more intriguing and mysterious story emerged: the Pegasus Project. According to Andrew Basiago, an American lawyer who has publicly spoken about the topic, the Pegasus Project was a secret US government program aimed at developing the ability to manipulate space-time and conduct time travel. Basiago, who claims to have been a part of this project, says he was sent to the past on a mission to witness key historical events, such as Abraham Lincoln's famous Gettysburg Address in 1863. What makes Basiago's story so perplexing is the visual evidence that, according to him, supports his claims. A photograph taken in Gettysburg showing a child in the center of the scene, looking to the side. Basiago asserts that the child in the photograph is him, traveling through time. Although the image itself has not been verified, the similarity between Basiago's description and the photo has sparked countless theories and speculations about the truth of his account. According to Basiago, the Pegasus Project was based on advances in theoretical physics, particularly Einstein's theory of relativity, and aimed to create a wormhole that would allow time travel. If these claims were true, it would imply that the US government possessed technology far more advanced than publicly documented. The existence of this photograph and Basiago's testimony as a known professional have kept the discussion alive about the possibility that time travel was not just a fantasy, but a concept that once came close to becoming a reality. Despite doubts and the lack of conclusive evidence, Basiago's story remains a fascinating tale that touches the limits of science fiction and history. If the Pegasus Project truly existed, it would mean that time travel could be more than just a theory, and that human history might be far more complex than we ever imagined. Number 1. The Sculpture of the Greek Woman and Futuristic Technology. In the J. Paul Getty Museum in Malibu, California, there is a sculpture that raises fascinating questions about art, history, and our perception of time. This piece, known as the Grave Naiskos of an enthroned woman with an attendant, shows a woman sitting on a throne, accompanied by a servant. What initially appears to be a typical work of ancient Greek art becomes an enigma when you notice a peculiar detail. The servant is holding an object that looks like a modern technological device, a laptop with visible USB ports. The context of the sculpture is unusual, as it doesn't correspond to any known artifact from ancient Greece. At the time when the ancient Greeks were producing their art, modern technology, as we understand it today, didn't even exist conceptually. Therefore, the laptop that the servant is holding is clearly an anachronism, an element out of place that defies any logical explanation. Although the sculpture was created during a period when the technology it represents was unimaginable, the depiction of a modern device within such an ancient piece invites us to ponder its possible hidden meanings. One interpretation is that this artwork might have been intentionally designed with these anachronistic elements to confuse and astonish its audience. Throughout history, artists have inserted symbols, messages, and details meant to provoke thought, and this sculpture could be doing the same by presenting an object that has no place in the temporal context of the piece. Thus, the sculpture not only challenges the history of art, but also invites us to question our understanding of the relationship between the past, present, and future. One of the most intriguing theories surrounding this sculpture is the idea that it is linked to the concept of time travel. If we assume that the figures of the woman and her servant represent individuals from an ancient civilization, the presence of a laptop could suggest that the creators of this piece had access to more advanced knowledge than their era would imply. This type of artifact could have been brought to the past by time travelers, people who came from the future, carrying technology still unknown to ancient societies. Though this theory is purely speculative, it sparks a fascinating reflection on the concept of time and how we perceive technological advances. The sculpture seems to speak not only of a distant civilization, but also of the connection between different eras and the possibility that at some point the boundaries of what we understand as time may blur. The fact that such an ancient figure is accompanied by such a modern object representing a significant advancement in our current society only adds more mystery to the interpretation of the piece. And there you have it, 5 of the most surprising and unusual discoveries that make us question everything we know about time and history. Which one left you the most intrigued? Do you believe in time travel, or do you think there is a more logical explanation behind all of this? Leave your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss the next content. See you in the next video. Until soon.